Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be continuing building out my home gym. Started out with the concrete weight plates for the barbell, then moved on to the dumbbell set made out of concrete and PVC, which there's a video for each of those if you're interested in those. Today I'm going to be building a pulley system so that I can do some lat pull downs, some tricep push downs, and a few other workouts that just don't translate that well to the resistance bands. I want to get the actual feeling of having constant weight being applied instead of the resistance being kind of a dynamic weight. When you're getting to the top, there's not much resistance. When you get to the bottom, there's more resistance. I want something constant. So this should be a pretty simple pulley system setup. It's just going to be one pulley mounted to the ceiling, your handle, and then kind of a weight pin that we're going to kind of DIY together. Alright, I'm going to get started now. I'm going to start from the handle and build my way out from there. So starting at the handle, going up to the pulley mount at the top, and then down to the weight pin at the bottom. So here's the really simple idea I've got going for this pulley system. The most important part is the steel cable. That's what the entire thing is based around. So I bought some steel cable that's got a plastic coating around the outside, which is important because if you don't have that plastic coating, it's gonna fray and get snagged on stuff, and it's just gonna degrade over time. So you want to make sure you got a plastic coating on there. We got our little pulley here that's gonna be mounted at the top. It's just a really simple pulley. It's got a pin on the side so I can take this out if I need to, take the wheel out if I need to. It says it's got a weight capacity of 420 pound limit. I don't think we'll be approaching that. So basically, we're going to be feeding through there. This is going to be mounted to the ceiling. We've got these little guides here that we're going to wrap the cable around. We'll wrap it around there, like that. So we'll wrap the cable around there. We're going to take these, feed them through the cable, clamp it onto the end here so that this stays in place, so that this part is protected when we're pulling down, so that this doesn't degrade over time and fray and break. This metal will protect the cable. Then on the opposite side, where we're going to be loading our weight, I bought this eye hole bolt that I bought a few washers for that fit on the bottom of it. The bottom of it's just got a nut that screws on. I put some washers on there, and then what I'm going to do is probably just cut a piece of 2x4 to go on top of those to kind of distribute the weight out. And I'll just load my weight plates onto the top of that, and then use a carabiner to clip this onto there on the other end, and that should be it. It should be pretty simple. Okay, so what we need to do is bend this around this steel guide, like so, and then we need to feed one of these through there. Alright, so you should have something along those lines. Probably could have gone a little smaller with this clamp. If I did, I could probably get a little bit closer to here and it wouldn't have any give, but shouldn't be fine. That shouldn't be able to come out. Just so you can see this up close, it's a steel guard that protects your cable so that the cable doesn't fray or break throughout time. So it's just going to increase the longevity of your pulley system. Okay, so next up we're going to be mounting our pulley. This is going to vary depending on your setup and where you need to mount this and the ceiling. I have a nice big steel I-beam because I'm setting this up in my basement that I'm just going to be able to attach it to with a steel cable. But this is really going to depend on your setup that you have at home. So this is the I-beam that I'm going to be mounting it to. I'm just going to wrap a steel cable around here, feed it through this hole, and then let this dangle here. It's not going to be pretty. Like I said, it's going to be a really basic setup. And again, this is going to vary widely based on how your setup is at home, whether you're trying to mount it to an actual ceiling and trying to find a wooden stud in the ceiling, or whatever your setup is, this part's going to be different. Alright, so we've got that mounted up here. I'm just going to cut off the end of this and then use the rest of this as my cable system. If I were trying to be very safe, I would probably put a second one of these on here. Maybe make this tail a little longer and put a second one on here just for safety's sake. And I may end up still doing that later on down the road. But for right now, I think this one will do fine. Just make sure you tighten it, because these things you can ratchet down really far to make sure that this cable isn't going to go anywhere. Alright, there we go. We got our pulley mounted. Okay, so I've just fed the steel cable through my pulley that's mounted on the I-beam up here, and I've attached my tricep push-down rope handles to the end. This part is going to be based on your preference, based on your setup at home. So if you've got your pulley mounted way high up on a power rack or on your ceiling or something, obviously you're going to need more cable than I do. When I have my pulley pulled all the way down, this is where my handles rest, which is pretty much exactly where I need them to do my tricep pushdowns. But if you've got it mounted a lot higher, you're going to need to adjust your cable so that you've got it just at the right height for you, where you need your specific gear that you're going to be attaching to it, so that the bottom of the cable is touching the ground where your weights are going to be loaded on, and the actual piece of equipment is going to rest where you need it to be resting for your workout. So again, this part's really going to completely depend on the setup that you have at home. My suggestion would be not to cut the cable at all until you've got everything set up exactly how you want it. So that way, if you decide you didn't really set it up correctly, you haven't cut the cable, you've still got some slack so that you can readjust the lengths that you need. So what you're going to want to do at this point is pull your equipment up so that it's at the height that you want your workouts to start at. Again, this is going to be different for everybody's setup. For me, that's at the very top of the pulley. Then set your weight loading pin on the ground, or if you're going to have it elevated off the ground, set it where it's going to be actually sitting once you load the weights on it. And then you can adjust your cable, make a loop so that it's the distance that you need to connect with a carabiner or whatever you're going to be connecting with. I'm going to use a carabiner. It's probably about that length. So I'm going to make my loop right here on the steel cable, and then I'll create the base for our weight loading pin. Alright, there we are. Now we just need to create the bottom to our loading pin, and we'll test it out. So I've just got a piece of scrap wood here that I'm just going to mark the center for. Drill a hole right there. Feed it through. Okay, so now we're going to feed our eye bolt through the end of the wood. I just grabbed 4 washers that I thought would give it a little more strength to have a few washers there. Put it on the other side. Just spread out that weight distribution a little bit. I'll probably end up adding some kind of glue or something to the bottom of this, or maybe just tape it so that this bolt doesn't move. I'm not sure if that's going to be an issue or not. But there we are. We've got our weight loading pin. There we are. Alright, let's load a couple weights on and see how it does. Alright, the maiden voyage. Not bad. The pulley squeaks a tiny bit, so might need to add some kind of lubricant or graphite or something to that if that bothers you. It's actually not too bad right now, but I imagine that'll get worse over time. And it probably doesn't do that if you get like a really nice pulley. But in general, this is awesome. I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. It was extremely easy to do. Some of these carabiners, like this guy here, I need a bigger one. So you're going to need to do some fine tuning between the length of your carabiners, the length of where you need it touching your floor or whatever your weights are going to be sitting on. So that's why I suggest keeping that cable its full length until you've got everything adjusted where you want it, and then you can trim it off. I think I'll do some fine tuning on the bottom where the weights sit so that this goes up a few more inches. But other than that, this works great. Do some triceps, do some lat pull downs with a straight bar. This is a super simple solution, and it's extremely affordable. Like I said, I spent 40 bucks on all of these materials. This honestly would take you 15 minutes to set up. It's extremely easy. The pin that I bought, the eye of it is less than 2 inches wide, so you can put any plate on top of that. And I think that's gonna hold up for as long as I need it to. Overall, I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. I may end up adding a pulley to the floor somehow so that I can do some cable curls or something like that. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. Can't believe I didn't do this sooner. It took like 15 minutes total and it only cost about 40 bucks. Whew. Extremely happy with this. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.